Imagine you move from a place where you lived all your life. Imagine you move and you leave all your children and wife. Starting all over again, but no one you know is around. Well, they didn't have to imagine. They built it up from the ground. How does it sound? Not easy cause it isn't. Could have phased them, but it didn't. But the raid bond, that's a winner. And they ran straight to the finish. You get to know them up close and personal. Wait, just give me a minute. Welcome to the front row. Can I get a drum roll? Intentional. We may be immigrants, but we are still intentional. We are dependable. It's just that set the bar, but still the best of all, we are intentional.
Welcome to the Intentional Immigrants podcast. I am so delighted that you're able to join me today. I am your host, Yolanda Jack. Today we will be speaking with Hichem. Hichem is a serial entrepreneur. Yes, you heard correctly. He is a serial entrepreneur. That means he has been involved in a multitude of businesses and industries over the last couple of years. Hichem is from the country of Tunisia, and that's in Africa. Tunisia borders with Algeria and Libya. It gained its independence from France on March 20th, 1956. Its languages are Arabic and French. Its flag description. The flag colors are red with a white disc in the center, bearing a red crescent nearly encircling a red five-pointed star. The crescent and star are traditional symbols of Islam. Let's listen as Hichem tells his story. Hi, Hichem. Welcome to the Intentional Immigrants podcast. I'm so happy that you're able to join me today. I'm so looking forward to hearing your story, and I'm sure my listeners are looking out, are listening, waiting to hear your story and some of the challenges and some of the trials you've had, and also how you overcame those. So before we begin, tell us a bit about yourself.
Okay. Hi, and first of all, thanks for having me on your podcast. I really appreciate the opportunity and all what you're doing, as I heard from close friends about the effort you put in toward putting some light toward the immigrants' path and journeys. So my name is Hichem Aiedi. I'm 44 years old, and I'm from Tunisia, North Africa. That's the tiny country in Northern Africa, the little small one. And
which country does it border with?
It borders with Algeria and Libya.
Algeria and Libya, right?
Yeah,
so
two huge countries.
I'm sure most of my listeners, including myself, would not be as familiar with that country as, say, the rest of Africa, as we would be with some more African countries, some of the bigger ones, more famous ones.
I will challenge you on that, but because if you go back 30,000 years ago, that's where Carthage is. That's Carthage, the Romans and the Carthaginians.
Yeah.
That's 30,000 years ago. So that was some kind of the beginning of the civilization in Africa. And speaking of which, Africa inherited its name from Tunisia back in the time.
Okay. So it was always called Tunisia?
Well, it was called Tunisia, but at certain point, back in the days, it was called something like a nickname for Africa. So basically in Arabic, it's Ifriqiya, which is Ifriqiya, that's the continent, that's Africa. Tunisia used to be called Ifriqiya.
Okay.
So Africa inherited its name from our country. So I'm not
Okay then.
sure who's more famous than who's more famous, the small country or the bigger ones.
Okay.
And it doesn't undermine any other country here in the whole continent. The whole continent is great and good. It's just that's part of the history.
Okay. Okay. So was it ever called Carthage?
Uh, that's 3,000 years ago.
Because I read
That's
about that. I remember doing that in
yeah,
history with
exactly.
Hannibal and the elephants.
Exactly. So I was born in Carthage, as a matter of fact,
Oh, okay.
right in Carthage, like right there,
Okay.
not close to, not around it, in Carthage.
Okay, cool.
And by the way, Tunisia is part of the curriculum for grade three in Canada here. So yeah, it's covered as a country there in the curriculum.
Cool.
And I had one time back when I used to live in Hamilton, actually, I was called just to present something and to speak in French to the students in grade three and to give them some idea about the country and the culture and everything in between.
That's really cool. Okay, so you're from Tunisia. That's where you
Yeah.
were. That's where you were born, and you came to Canada. You want to tell us about how was your journey to Canada?
Well, I came in 2003, back in August 2003. And actually, before that, long story short, because we're going to try to put focus on Canada here, but in year 2000, I left back home, ended in the States, spent a few years there, a couple of years or little more than that, about 3 years, then to Germany, and from Germany to Canada. So
Okay.
my journey here started in 2003, and I started from Trois-Rivières in Quebec,
Mm-hmm.
as I was pursuing my mechanical engineering.
Okay, so you came to Quebec to study mechanical engineering. That's correct, right?
Well, yes and no. That's the study part was a choice, but the reason for me to come because I was how they call it now, a permanent resident,
Oh,
right
you
from the
you
start.
you came as a permanent resident.
Yeah, right from day one because of my degree back home, and I speak French. My experience, my trainings on my fields of study that allowed me just to put my foot to stand foot here as a permanent resident from day one.
Okay. Okay, cool. Is Tunisia French speaking or English speaking?
No, French.
French.
Actually, yeah, French as a second language, and that's what we take most of our studies. We take them in French, but the first language of the country is Arabic.
Oh, Arabic and French.
Yes.
Okay, okay, cool. All right. So you consider yourself a serial entrepreneur. Tell us a bit about that one. I mean, when I saw that title, I said, "Wow, let's hear it."
Oh, okay. Thanks for that. Yeah. I use the word I consider for the long run. I use that. At first, I was just an entrepreneur. Then I was like, I consider myself as a serial entrepreneur. But after running for about 18 years, when running businesses, opening startups, and working in too many projects. So I am a serial entrepreneur. I can affirmative on that. And it all started actually back in Hamilton, Ontario.
Hamilton, yeah.
Yeah, where I had some little bit of money and I didn't see anything interesting in pursuing any regular type of career with my degrees and stuff. And because I'm like my father, he was serial entrepreneur. I mean, an entrepreneur, and that's how I grow up, and that's the only model that I've seen in my life in the sense of bringing money or doing things. So I was impacted big time. I do believe from his professional life. And from there, I was like, okay, I just need to, I guess, to do the same thing. The history will repeat itself. In Hamilton, I just started my first. I had a friend, a high school friend, which is actually he lived with me in the States, then in Canada, and we used to be in the university back home together. And we had a little bit of money, American dollars, kind of deal. At 23 or 24 years old, we were like, okay, what are you gonna do with it? And so we need to come up with some idea to make business, to be in business. So we hit the road and we started with the wholesale company. So we went by a bunch of stuff, ventured on that big time, bought the vans, and played the business owners kind of deal at that age. It was a big bust, but nonetheless, we learned a lot. And from there, after not even a year, we partnered in a restaurant, and we started just try to improve ourselves and learn about what we can do and how to figure things out on the hard way. Basically, we were learning as we were doing the thing. We had no much backup there because, I mean, we don't know nobody to begin with, or few people, I would say. 2006 came, heard about Fort McMurray, came here, and I continued. I insisted to continue on the same path. From there, I had too many businesses over the years in Fort Mac, from an oil change business to chip repair to property management, IT company, and too many other businesses here. So I'm in the 10 plus small businesses so far in my journey, and for projects. Running an IT company for the last 10 years, since 2010 or 11 years. Basically, I was more focused on building projects. So if I see a problem, I brainstorm the solution, and I can say I'm good at that. I always find problems.
And you find the solutions as well, and that's what entrepreneurs do.
Exactly. So, and I try to use the technology to solve those problems.
That's great. Great news. Have you had the chance to return to Tunisia?
Yes, I'm probably a spoiled immigrant here, in all total fairness. I never had that kind of barrier. I never had any kind of barriers to be able to make it home, either financial or paperwork side of things. So yes, I will go back. Usually it's 3-4 years, and that's by choice. I could make it even more than that, more frequent than that, but just my choice is around the 3-4 years mark.
Every 3-4 years, thereabout. Okay, cool. What do you miss most about Tunisia?
Oh, the beach. Yeah, the beach, the sun, the warm weather. It's a Mediterranean climate there, and I'm like 5-10 minutes away from the beach, and that's how I grew up, and that's the style of back home. That's how I spent my childhood and my early age.
So you were born swimming?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I think she wasn't a hospital; it was a pool. So yeah, and that's one thing. It's Mediterranean temper too. So it's like the Italians, the Tunisians, the Moroccans, the Greek people from Greece, Spain. That particular region of the world. It's like there is too many. The level of interaction between people, it's different. We live too close to each other more than North America, generally speaking. So there is that side too. So the human interaction, that's one big thing. Yeah.
Community feel, or feel of community.
Yes, that style of community, because the community can be good everywhere. It doesn't have to be in that style, but specifically that kind of style is not given in North America.
Yes.
So to don't underput any community, because all communities are great as long as you know how to live in them, how to approach people and to understand their way of life, and you just blend yourself in. So all communities are great, but all communities are different too.
Are different. That's so very true. What place or activity would you recommend to someone visiting Tunisia for the first time? A must see, must have, must experience.
Okay, so for that part, there is a bit of information here. Tunisia is a small country, yes, but surprisingly has the mountains, the desert, and the sea. So you have the three, and you pick and choose where you want to go. And speaking of which, you can go to the desert down south, and that's where War Star was. They shot War Star there. And Tatooine in the movie, that's from Tatooine, which is a region in South Tunisia.
Okay.
So there is a lot to see there, lots of history for sure. The ruins of Carthage, there's something to visit there as well. And for sure, the beach, you have 1,300 kilometers of beaches. Nice, you can pick and choose what kind of beach and what kind of sea activities you want to experience.
Okay, that's great. All right, you made mention a minute ago of some of the products and services that you offer. So you have an IT focus. You work on you do IT. You do apps. Am I correct?
Yes,
You
correct.
work on building projects. That's correct. All right. So tell us about. I know you have more than one companies going.
Yeah.
Is there any particular one that you want to focus this discussion on, or one or two?
Yeah, that's the hardest part because I have too many on the go. But anyways, I will try to keep it to, I would say, two. Basically, I'm in a type of business scenarios where I'm dealing business to business. It's a B2B scenarios, setups, and for my business. So I serve businesses more than consumers.
Okay.
But nonetheless, with my latest project, which is Swift Pros, it's something like Uber, but for services. So let's say if you need a small move, you don't have to call around or to schedule anything. You just go to the app, you put A and B addresses, you get your price, and whoever is available and close to you will come and move that couch or piece of furniture that needs to be moved.
Tell us a little
Or
bit more about that one.
yeah, so that's this project has been in development for 3 years so far, and it's a big one. And it's an on-demand multiple services for residential and commercial properties.
Okay.
So somebody needs cleaning, same thing. You just put the address, how much time you want to have the cleaners around for whatever job that might be, and you just get your estimate and whoever is available again. So there is one essential compound in this project, which is I killed the scheduling part of it. So it's on demand. So the services are being rendered within 30 minutes to 1 hour max. Somebody will be there for wherever it's needed. We live in a busy world, and adding scheduling part of the service industry, that just puts a burden on the consumer. We are already busy. We schedule for our school, for our courses, for our work, for this, for that, and you just want to just make a simple move, and you have to go the whole 9 yards just to figure somebody that can make it at the time that you need them to be. So with my solution, I just get rid of that part, and we do charge by the minute. So if I spend 46 minutes working, I should get paid for 46 minutes, not the 1 hour or the 2 hours minimum charge.
Okay.
So there is a different pricing structure there. So that's the biggest 2-3 strong points, focus points. So it's on demand, no scheduling, and by the minute charge.
How has it been working out for you?
Well, the development took quite a long time because everything is like there is no backup behind the project in the sense of financial or resources or anything. So it was all internal. And that just started to go to market in the last couple of months. And it's good. It's working so far. Now we are just tweaking the final tweaks for the software. We're just trying to figure out what to improve and how to run the last few tests in there. And yeah, so we're good. We're gonna make it big, and this is unique in Fort Mac. There is no parallel solution in Alberta, which is gonna be expanded on the franchise style. So soon I'm gonna be selling territories. Let's say somebody wants to adopt that business model in Edmonton, so he can franchise the territory and so on and so forth.
Okay, cool.
So that's the B2B, B2C and B2B because there is two sides
Mm-hmm.
and two sides of it. But I do usually focus on the B2B
Mm-hmm.
side of the business. And I'm also now and lately for the last year I built a COVID-19 solution, and I
What's
start to
that?
be on the B2G. So I'm selling to governments now, which I just signed my contract with the Tunisian government, with the Minister of the Ministry of Technology and the Health Ministry to just so they can use my solution in the national plan to fight COVID.
Okay, that's
So
great. That's
that's my
great news.
that's my new orientation. I'm tapping in that world. Still, this is my first experience dealing with governments.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, and my project actually was funded and supported by UNICEF Tunisia.
Cool.
So I kind of made it all like just from the small business and stuff. It just made it to different level.
Yes, because now
Uh,
you're interacting with government. I mean,
yeah.
I don't think you go higher than that.
Well, there is one more level I'm trying to go to, but okay, I'm good with that. I will stick to that for now. Let's see how that goes. So yeah, so this particular it's called Corona Advisor. It will have a different name back home in Tunisia
Mm-hmm.
because that will be just a part of the national plan again. So the name must change as people are not English speaking there.
Mm-hmm.
Nonetheless, the project is launched as Corona Advisor, which essentially is simple idea, and I'm surprised that nobody else is doing it.
Okay.
It's like okay, you go to let's say to a place, and you have this 5 question survey where okay, are employees wearing masks? Yes or no? Are you as customers wearing masks? Yes or no? Is there hand sanitizer? Is there social distancing? From those 5 questions, I name it four, but anyways, so from the questions on that app, you will come up with an index for that place. So now I will know that place, that particular place has an index of, let's say, 80 or 90, which means essentially for the end user is it is safe and the COVID-19 protocol is being respected.
Cool.
So from my home now, if I'm a vulnerable person or I'm just part of the member of the community, I can have kind of COVID-19 city guide where I go. I can go to, it's safer to go to A place better than B because B is not respecting the rules.
Mm-hmm.
And that will just help people to have make informed decision
Mm-hmm.
about where to go. Number two, they will encourage and put stress on the business owners or the facilities, it's not just businesses, on the facility keepers to make sure that they are
Adhering to the
implementing
rules.
and adhering to the rules to
Mm-hmm.
bring more customers toward their location for whatever reason that might be. So that's the two parts, the user and whoever is running the facilities out there.
Mm-hmm.
But for most, it's a government tool, so they can, from the back end, from just charts in the back, they can know who's not following the rules. So instead of going around and wasting all these resources and time to enforce the laws and the protocol, they can just see it from their end and they can either call or I go to tell them, you know what, please align yourself with the rules. You are hurting people. If they don't listen, they can stick it down, find them or whatever. But that's just a monitoring tool to the government.
Okay.
Because of this COVID-19, I mean, I think we all agree nobody was expecting this. And no government in this world has the proper resources to just go around, send so many vehicles, so many agents just to go around and yeah, please make sure you're following the rules
Mm-hmm.
or the protocol.
Mm-hmm.
So that's still unique. I didn't see any parallel solution. It's very simple as a solution. It's not rocket science here, but Nobody's doing it. So we're still unique on that size, on that sense.
That's great. That's great.
And
And it does provide a more focused solution.
big pardon?
It does provide a more
Mhm.
focused solution because people are able, the government is able to go in this particular area, as you say, or in that particular area and speak to persons or try and encourage persons to adhere to the COVID-19 restrictions.
Exactly.
Okay, cool. That's
Exactly.
good. And you
And
mentioned property
yeah,
management. What was that about?
yeah. Before going to the property management, I should give credit to whoever deserves it. I have a co-founder on this, which is my sister. She's back home from Tunisia,
Okay.
Hichem Aiedi. Uh, so we worked closely for the last year and a few months now, and she's doing an amazing job there. So I should, every time I talk about Corona, even if she's not here, I mean, with us, or she's not involved in any kind of way, I still have to give credit to whoever deserves it.
Thank you for doing that.
You're welcome. Yeah. So property maintenance, that's 2009 in Fort Mac, which a business started with, I had to borrow my first screwdriver and few tools to make my, to do my first job. And I had to be like a resident in Rona, just trying to figure out the parts of what I need. I was residing literally there because I was always looking for something. And yeah, for the long run, it started just as because I'm handy and I have technical knowledge and behind from my study and from the things I did before. So I just started, I took my first call and I was like, okay, let's give it a shot. There's something I can do and I can do small repairs. From there, I remember at that time it was the beginning of, not the beginning, but anyways, Google Maps started to allow people to put their phone number and what they do in the map. And I was bored one night and I found that because I always look at the technology and what's happening in the technology, internet and stuff, even before I had my company, my IT company. So I said, you know what, this is not a bad idea. I'll just try it. And I put my phone number and property maintenance and what I do, which I didn't do any of that anyways. It was just some text and I was just writing. And the next day or so, I got a call from a national company that needed somebody to look after their stuff in Fort Mac. And I was like, okay, do you do this? I do that. Do you do this? I do that. I found myself meeting with the president down in the Southridge back in the days in Gregoire. Went through the meeting, took the jobs, found myself with a bunch of keys, houses, and
No
a
staff?
business. And the business.
No staff?
And myself, it was just me, myself, and the van and the houses. And I was like, okay. And it was just, I mean, just here on the serious side of the things, it wasn't rocket science or there was anything that I was doing like to, without knowledge. It was just common sense. They're just cleaning, fixing this, changing lights, doing that, like for somebody that had lots of background there. So it was just common sense stuff. So I just gave it a go. And from there, with that company, I was managing up to 250 units. Just from that Google Map thing. So I found myself with that. I was looking after repossessed properties. I was looking after the relocation properties. I looked after Kiano houses here. The realtors, most of them, I deal with them. Yeah, anyways, it was fun. It was lots of work. It was fun.
It was fun. Okay.
So from that property maintenance, by the way, that's when I figured out lots of problems and issues in the operations of managing properties, which led me down the road in 2018 to start the Swift Pros as a solution, like an application, an app to solve part of the solutions, which is essentially the scheduling and the availability.
Okay, cool. That's good. Share an experience that blew you away in terms of the impact of your product or service.
I had, before property maintenance and IT and stuff in 2007, I started the business, an oil change business, and didn't have any money to start it actually. So to start it, instead of renting and doing something that I didn't have, I start something that I couldn't afford altogether. I put some, instead of them coming to me, I was going to the customers to do their oil change in their places, in their houses or whatever, driveways.
Mm-hmm.
But again, I have a focus on the B2B. So I never went to customers in their driveways. But for 5-6 years, for 4 or 5 years, I was the only guy, and I had all the rental companies in town and for the oil change. So the idea is very simple. I go to Walmart, I go to Napa or Canadian Tire or whatever, buy my filters, buy my oil, put it in the van, and I would spend my weekends at the airport, the old one, service in Avis, Budget, National, Enterprise. I just do their cars. I just put it on the ramp, drive it on the ramp, get underneath, do the oil change, and then just get to the next car. So that made them lots of saving with that business model because they don't have to hire two people to drive, going back and forth and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
So cut down their cost. I was charging the same price as a regular oil change business, which wasn't for me. I wasn't even having any expense behind it other than my gas money to drive to them. And what blew me away in this, and I didn't know that, somebody was waiting for me to quit to start that business. Doing exactly the same thing, which I don't know the person until today, but it looks like he's still doing it. And whoever he is, I'm very happy and proud that he copied and he took advantage of the gap I left after I quit. I just quit all of a sudden. I was running for businesses, couldn't do it. And I was like, I'm sorry, I need to quit. So somebody just jumped on the opportunity. I hope he's doing good. And I wish if he came to me just to get some advice, so I tell him more about my hassle and the problems he will face. But that's just knowing that and hearing about it from people, somebody is doing it right after I quit because I was doing it and it was a unique business model. That was a kind of dear experience to me, and it's a good feeling.
Yes.
So good luck for him, whoever he is out there.
Yes. Okay, that's good. Share a difficulty and the lessons learned as a result of that experience. Too many or too few?
Was that? I'm sorry. I'm just
too many difficulties or too few difficulties?
That's a big question, honestly. It's like difficulty, seriously. Probably trying to do too many things and in different industries under different circumstances, in different places, in different markets, it's all full of difficulties all day long. But probably the biggest one was right on the start, where you don't know your left from your right, you don't know nobody, and you'll be out there with all your dreams, hopes, and looking at your future and what's going to happen in the next few years. And you'll be looking for somebody to give you an advice and to give you much needed support. And it's too difficult when you just come to realize that this is not a joke and nobody will give you free lunch. And not a free lunch in a sense, somebody will give you something like for nothing, but a free lunch in a sense like you give me free advice because you just want to give me advice just for nothing. So I was in Hamilton, we were like two young guys full of energy who had a little bit of money and lots of expectation of what's coming ahead, and we're trying to improve ourselves in a totally new country and different society. And we'll be asking, how can we make business? What can we do? How can we use our time? But nobody, unfortunately, at least to my experience or to our experience at that time, gave us the right advice. And that was very difficult to find that path at your own, where you lose lots of time, money, and you lose some kind of piece of you at that time. But then you get it back. So I'm not trying to scare anybody here. You just, once you go through it and you figure your things out, you just tend to forget about it. And here I'm really trying to dig from my memory to remember those circumstances or feelings, but they are all gone because after a while you just forget and you try to be like you'll have experience, you gain experience, and you
gain
forget all of
experience by doing.
But what I wish, and here, if there is a message from this broadcast I want to send, please, you immigrants out there, or immigrants, doesn't matter, human beings. I mean, just don't forget your start, and always consider that somebody was like he's starting. So treat him right and give him the advice. And advice is free. And what goes around comes around. So even if you make millions, even if you will be like the president of the country or the prime minister, even if you're going to be whatever that thing, that whatever you'd want to be, just don't forget where you started and consider always so that somebody is right at your place 20 or 30 years ago or whatever. So make sure to give them the right advice.
Thank you. What's your personal philosophy or mantra? What is it that drives you each day?
Lots of things.
Just one.
Never give up.
Never give up. Okay.
Never give up.
However hard it is at this time, it's not permanent.
Nothing is permanent. We all change. Even like if you look at physics, I mean, even the slightest thing, particle in this world is not static. It will change. You will either grow or vanish or whatever, or decompose or associate to something else. Everything changes. And so never mind, that's just probably a piece of rock or metal or whatever, like material out there. Never mind a human being, we are a living species. So nothing is permanent.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
No matter where it is, nothing's. I mean, and it works both ways. It's a sword with a double edge. On the good side and the bad side. If you're in bad situation, it will change. If you are in good situation, too bad, it will change too.
So share a morning routine or ritual which has helped you well.
Morning routine. I'm not a morning person.
You're not a morning person?
Oh, 100%. I'm not. I'm a night owl, and I just basically that's where I brainstorm. That's what I think. That's what I just I just need that kind of quietness and lonely moments. That's where I just live with my ideas and brainstorm and figure out what I want to do.
Okay.
If I have to get up in the morning, that will be a sad day. I guess, but I still do it. I mean, with all the commitments I have, but I try to dodge it as much as I can. Mm-hmm. So I try to schedule my things later in the day. Mm-hmm. So I don't have a morning routine. I just get my coffee, have my smokes, bad habits, but it is what it is. So and just start my day.
Okay.
I don't focus too much with it, to be honest.
Okay. Recommend a must-read book. So that's a book that you have read or you are reading, which has helped you well.
Well, for what I'm reading or I have read, there is too many, but 100% without even give it the slightest thought, Rich Dad, Poor Dad.
Rich Dad, Poor Dad. Okay.
And that's actually, I give that book. I always have it. I give it as a gift and I buy it again to give it as a gift again. That's a routine there. That's a cycle. And of course, that book has been around for so long.
Mm-hmm.
Times changed. I'm sure there is lots of books out there that they are worth mentioning, but at least at that particular time, early 2000s, with my circumstances, that book was when I actually was a gift, and when I went through it, it just spoke to me.
It's
That kid trying to make money and just making the 10 cents like by himself because his dad asked him to go, told him to go make money, so he thought he really physically go make the money itself. And there is too many valuable lessons there, and at
Mhm.
that age again, you just I saw myself
You
there.
saw yourself
Yeah.
in Robert Kiyosaki's book, Rich Dad, Poor Dad.
Yes. So
Okay, okay. Thank you very much.
you're welcome.
How can my listeners make contact with you? Oh, before
Well.
we go, no, before you answer that one,
Mhm.
what advice you gave an advice already to immigrants who are coming here and who have started their own business, and that is basically to be willing to share whatever advice you have to give. So for immigrants who are coming here or who are here already, what
Yeah.
advice, what particular advice or what tips can you give to them?
Don't be afraid.
Don't be
You're gonna
afraid.
lose. Don't. What are you gonna lose? Try it. Lots of people they come from back home and they look here for security and for like just trying to kind of limit themselves because of not trying or being afraid or what's gonna happen by the end of the day. It's a country full of opportunities. Even if something that doesn't work, so be it. Who cares? Just the next thing will work. If it doesn't work, still the one after will work. It's like look at Angry Birds. They failed 50 times. The number 51 turned out to be Angry Birds. That's just an example, and that's not just an example that happens only to those guys kind of deal. No, it does happen to all of us. It's just different levels. So it
Mhm.
doesn't have to be that big, but still at the micro level of every individual, that's that's the that's the fun part. That's the challenging part. That's where the growth is. Who doesn't try nothing, he will gain nothing. So I see lots of immigrants. I tell them, you know what? If you got a van, let's say, and hypothetically here, I'm just talking about like handiwork side of things. Just go get a van, put an ad on Facebook or wherever, and spend few $1,000 and just try to do something. If you know how to do it, just go do it. The money, how I'm gonna pay it, who's gonna call me, the whole, and they go the whole 9 yards. I mean, if you just don't waste your time and you just go and do it, probably you will be done by now and you will be in business. So stop thinking, don't overthink it. And if it doesn't work, that's not a big deal because you can go work again and don't throw yourself, of course, to the ditch and go crazy guy like, okay, now I'm going to borrow the money. I'm going to use my credit card to start. And you're going to be the foolish, you know, uh, unreasonable guy or, or person out there, I should say. Uh, so I'm not saying that, but you can do it in a safe way. But don't stop. Try it. Try.
Try
If you
something.
don't try, you will never. You will be just another person that will go through his life or her life, uh, and and then that's it. There is
Okay.
no new. There is nothing that you never experienced your full potential.
Okay.
So by trying, you can you push yourself to limits where you can discover somebody else, and you will be surprised.
Okay. All right. Thank you. How can my listeners make contact with you?
780-215-7015. That's my phone number. You are welcome to call me if you need any advice, any idea, anything that relates to business or anything else. I lived in like from Quebec to Ontario to Alberta. I know the country from end to end. Lived in the States and the European countries. Bunch of lots of experience there. So they're welcome to call me. Otherwise, they can connect either through LinkedIn or Facebook, which is they can just try to search for Hichem Aiedi, as it will show on your material there. And you can even, I can send you the links so they can contact.
Sure, I can.
And anybody is welcome, as long as I can provide an advice. There is one thing I try to never fail on it, is giving an advice. And here, before you close, I'm sorry, I don't want to take too long. I usually, when I drive on the highway, if somebody stops me for a ride, I stop. And actually, coming to Alberta from Hamilton, driving to Fort Mac in 2006, I took somebody from Sarnia, Ontario, all the way to Fort Mac.
Really?
3 days and a half ride. And you know why? And every person that gets to my car, I tell them the same thing. When I was a student, I used to live 400 kilometers from my hometown for my study down south. And every weekend, I hitchhiked back to my town. And then to get back to the university, I used the train. So I was helped almost every weekend for so many years. Today I have a car. I have to give that back.
Yes.
So
because other persons have invested or helped you along the way, and you're just merely helping other persons as well. That's
what goes around comes around.
That's good. That's beautiful. Hichem, I am so happy that you willingly gave of your time today and your advice for our fellow immigrants. Thank you. Thank you so very much.
You are welcome. And again, thank you so much for having me here.
Thank you.
And your dedication and what you're doing here. Thank you.
All right. Thanks. Thank you to the following persons and websites who made this podcast possible. Hichem Aiedi, our guests for today. Facts about Tunisia were found on www.contrafacts.com. Thank you to Xavier Anderson for providing music. Until next time, I am your host, Yolanda Jack, reminding you, he who watches the wind will not sow. He who watches the clouds will not reap. Ecclesiastes 11, verse 4. You were born for greatness. Step out into your greatness so that mankind can benefit from you being here. So long, until next time.
Intentional. We may be immigrants, but we are still intentional. We are dependable. It's just that set the bar, but still the best.